of September 2025. Before I move on to the agenda, I just wanted to share with people that following the sad death of the wife of former councillor Rupert Reichhold, our collective condolences were expressed to him. I had delivered a card, so at least he knows it's in our thoughts. So I thought the councillors ought to know that. We're going to move through some of the formalities before we invite our three candidates to speak, and I'll run through the process again so that we're all aware of what's going on. First of all, I'll start with item 2561. Apologies for absence.
Councillor Adams.
The only absentee. That's very, very good. Are we prepared to accept his apologies for absence? He is already good. Item 2562, declarations of interest. We're asked to declare any declarations of interest from members and officers. I'll take them all together and you can admit to any all together. 256201, to declare any disclosable pecuniary interests. 62.
I live near the Rugby Club.
Thank you. Would that be pecuniary?
Don't know.
I think
I'm declared previously.
Yeah. So good, thank you. To declare any other interests in the meeting items tonight. To consider any request for dispensation. To report any gifts or hospitality accepted over the value of £50. Or, and this makes me laugh all the time, to report any inappropriate gifts or hospitality offered. Nobody's done that yet. So,
If only.
So we're going to move to item 2563 to consider candidates for co-option onto the council. We're fortunate in that we will have an election. Unfortunately, means one of the three candidates will not be invited onto council tonight. But I think from a council point of view, it's fantastic that we've got so much interest in the vacancies we have. I've met with all three candidates. I believe they'll each make great councillors. Although at the end of tonight, they may wonder why they offered to join. In a moment, I'm going to ask them whether they have anything else to add. Then I'm going to make a proposal as to how we carry out the voting procedure, and then we're going to go through the vote itself. So the first stage of that is to ask whether any of the three have anything that they want to add to that application.
No, don't think so. No.
Wonderful. I'll invite councillors to ask questions of the candidates, if anybody has any questions. All mine were answered at the time, so thank you very much for the time that you spent. So if there are no questions, we're going to move on to the voting process. We're going to vote each position separately. We're going to vote for position 1, and then we're going to move to vote for position 2. The process has been recommended to us by NCALC.
We do need proposals and seconders from candidates.
Yeah. So to be elected, a candidate must get a majority of councillors voting for them. There are 11 of us here tonight, so a candidate to be elected must have 6 votes to be elected. It might take a number of votes to get it for the first position. It might well be easier for the second position. And it's done live. I'd originally said to you guys, we'd ask you to leave so we could vote, but actually you can stay. But just in the interest of that, I'm very conscious that it could get difficult for us because standing orders require that we vote by a show of hands. And I don't want to do that because whoever does get elected will see whoever votes for other people and not them. And that could create potential difficulties. So what I'm going to ask, before I ask for proposals and seconders for each candidate, I'm going to ask that we vote by ballot. But to do that, I have to say this, in accordance with Standing Order 26A, I propose that Council suspend Standing Order 3S to allow voting on agenda item 2563, you have asked for this, to be a written vote. So in other words, not a show of hands. For me, I think that's the right way to do it. So I'm proposing that, but I need a seconder and I need at least 3 people to vote for it. Seconder, Councillor Fuller, thank you. All those in favour? Wonderful. So we're going to move on to the process itself. I need a proposer for each of the candidates. And I can't remember the second names. I'm so sorry.
Owen Green.
Owen Green. Do I have a proposer for Owen Green? Councillor Affleck. Thank you. A seconder for Owen Green. Councillor Clark. Thank you. Second candidate is Stephen Mulroy. Thank you. Do I have a proposer for Stephen Mulroy? Ian, thank you. A seconder for Stephen Mulroy. Councillor Rob, thank you. And then finally, Alison.
Osborne.
Thank you. A proposer for Alison, Councillor Fuller. A seconder, Councillor Quartermain. Thank you. Each of those candidates has been proposed and seconded, so we'll now move on to the vote. And if you could give out the ballot papers.
It's like you voted for it.
It's too late now. I have spare pens.
You'll explain why Emma's got children there.
So yes, to all the room.
Who else hasn't got pens? I want them back.
It's only one vote.
One vote.
Can we go into a booth?
So you're asked to say yes. You are asked to say yes to one candidate, no to the other two candidates, and when we finish, then we'll collect them and count them up.
Yeah, so initially we're just voting for one.
You're voting for one. We want one candidate. This is one position.
Yeah, it is just spoiled the ballot paper. It's all very confusing.
It's very exciting. The flu song, the excitement of the
Also, it's very such a channel 4. Oh, yeah. Two choices. On my television, I showed how he was related to Richard III.
We're not talking about that again, are we?
I'll ask you that. It's, I don't like it's a week when it's very soon. So what's happening? Jeremy.
And this is the returning officer.
There's a live BBC reporter. People are streaming in all over the country. We're going live to BBC Northamptonshire.
Do you want to count again?
Count again?
It's a recount.
No,
It's not a recount, it's dual control.
The word out to the BBC reporter. Oh, that's a clear head. That's a clear favourite. Look at that.
So, thank you all for your time. I can announce that the first invitee to position 1 is Alison. Please join. And you have a declaration of interest to sign to show that you are
There's also the agenda.
properly appointed.
Need to sign that now.
And we're going to move on to position.
Matt, can we just see the arm wrestle?
We're going to move on to position 2. Very simple. It's a straight choice.
Yes. But are you going to give them out or I just sort of? We'll just have to cross.
So much less.
It's too exciting.
She can't vote down.
No, she can't vote, she's not a member yet.
Just sit.
So needless to say, you're not voting again for Alison. This is either Stephen or Owen. Either will be make a great.
This is only pointed back.
You're not going to call out, are you?
Oh, I've got which one. I think I remember.
This was for.
I never told you it was going to be a.
That's a long way, right?
Also, we've got something there.
There's somebody else. I think it's Tony.
Perfect time, Tony. Proceed.
Tony's standing as well. Oh. Are you standing?
I've only got one, sorry. Yes, you.
How this morning?
Was it?
Can't take attention.
Yeah, come on, yeah. Okay. Just come to the chair.
What's a nightmare is that I've forgotten between going from Emma to me, but I can confirm that we're inviting Owen Green too. The rule is whoever's first buys the round.
I'll come back when I get there.
So Stephen, welcome. Owen, welcome. And Stephen, I'm so sorry, but please do remain in touch because who knows what's going to happen over the next 2.5 years. As I said, you would have made a great councillor as well. So.
Keep in touch.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
So I'm now going to call the meeting back to order and we're going to move on with item 2564, minutes of previous meetings. So the proposition is to approve and sign the minutes of the full council meeting held on the 15th of July. That's an accurate record. If there are no amendments, yes, please do.
I gave my apologies, and they're not on there.
Cool. Yes, they are.
Are they?
Apologies received from councillors Bull, Clark, Fuller, Arnold and Gray.
I'll be quiet.
Are there any other
Some corrections?
Some
corrections.
I'm glad it's not just me. Okay, could I have a proposer for these minutes, please? Councillor Chester, thank you. Do I have a seconder for these minutes, please? Councillor Shura, thank you. All those in favour? Wonderful, thank you very much indeed. Item 2565, public participation from interested parties, maximum of 15 minutes in total, although standing orders limit individual speakers to 3 minutes. So I call Tony Hoyle.
Mr. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Tony Hoyle. I'm your parish park warden. From time to time, I report issues with the public rights of way which lie within, well, public rights of way, but within the parish there are 8 footpaths and 2 bridleways. I wouldn't normally bring issues to the council, but this time there's an issue concerning one bridleway which is being used illegally and has a surface on which in parts is unsuitable for both riders, horse riders, and people with mobility issues. Now, I think you'll see the A605, the Abel bypass, there's the town, here's the River Lean. Sorry, stay upright. The loop in the river, and this right away here, UF6,
You touched it.
yeah. A houseboat has been moored on the river here for a couple of years, maybe a little bit longer. It transpires that the chap owns this field, he's bought it, so he has riparian rights and is entitled to be there. Nice chap, and I admire his spirit. What he intends to do is farm it as a small holding. But what he's doing is using this part of the bridleway as access on a daily basis, sometimes more than once a day, to get to his field and sometimes around his field. This has caused some severe rutting in this area in particular and in other parts of the bridleway, which have been brought to his attention. I noticed it first and reported it on the online tool Fix My Street in October last year. Then oh dear, collapse them out. This is what it looked like in February this year, because he's driving up and down the track every day, and we had a lot of rain at the beginning of the year.
Tony, sorry, is his field, is his field behind the car?
Yeah.
His field's behind the car, yes.
Right.
You can just see the houseboat in the distance there, maybe, I don't know, I can see. But there are 3 pictures that show what it looked like in February. And I reported this to Kier, NNC's contractor, Highways Authority. I reported the severe rutting caused by this vehicle going up and down regularly and frequently. And Kier said they couldn't do anything about it. They suggested that I reported it to the police, which I have done. I've also reported it to what we call the Northamptonshire Local Access Forum, which I'm also a member, and it's been raised in a public rights of way meeting. I want to show you.
So can I just ask a question? Is that the only way he can access his field, other than using the boat? Because he could, in a way, use his boat to fetch and carry.
He could. This is the way he chooses to drive.
Yeah, so
Between the A605 and his property.
So, Tony, can I just ask the purpose of you reporting this to us? Is there something you're wanting us to
Purely
do?
for information.
Right.
I'm not asking the council to do anything,
Okay.
but I just felt this was a sufficiently significant issue
Okay.
to bring to your attention. That's all.
Thank you.
Sorry, can I ask a question? It's interesting. Is one allowed to use motorised vehicles on blind?
No, it's illegal.
No, that's
It's illegal use. Bridleways permit people riding horses, walking, or using mobility aids, but no vehicular access at all.
And you reported this to the police?
I have done.
Okay.
But more recently, sorry, I want to just bring up another report. Like I say, I reported it first in October last year on Fix My Street. I reported it in February this year using Fix My Street. They said I should report it to the police, which I did earlier this year, and eventually had a report from PCSO. At a more recent meeting of the Rights of Way Association with colleagues from the Local Access Forum, who agreed that something needs to be done about the illegal use with a motor vehicle and the surface. Now, I showed you the rutting. He's taken steps to repair it, and this is what it looked like in September. Now, the rutting's largely gone as it's dried out, but he's used a material which I believe, and my colleagues also believe, is quite unsuitable for people riding horses and for people using mobility scooters. This is an example of the material. Can I pass it around?
You can, but Tony, I'm just conscious of time. Tony, just conscious of time.
Yes. Well, this is all I want to show you. That's the condition it's in now, and in a couple of other places along the way. NNC here, as Highways Authority, think there's nothing they can do about it. The policeman took his time. He had to be called away, but he's returned from Poland. He said he'll arrange to meet me. He's had a look at it, but he says it's not a police matter. I'll continue to pursue it with him, and I'll continue to pursue the issue through the Local Access Forum, and if necessary, report further on Fix My Street.
Thank you.
If I could just interject, I've got a meeting with you on Monday, so I'll talk, then we can approach that. And that'll be the police, sorted if he says it's not an issue,
Okay.
then I'll approach that, but we'll talk about it on Monday.
Thank you, David. Ian?
Tony, when you've spoken to Kia, have they put you in touch with their Rights of Way team?
The people within the Rights of Way team are party to the Access Forum.
Right, well, that's fine.
It's really difficult to get Kia to do anything.
Absolutely.
Can I just interject? I just think this sets a precedent. It may not be something that we're responsible for as a council, but I do strongly believe it sets a dangerous precedent. Somebody owns a little strip of land, clearly no planning for a road to be put in. Clearly he hasn't applied for planning. He's living there because I regularly walk that path. There's all sorts of things like solar panels. His vehicle often blocks the actual river walk as well, and I've often had to walk around it. And I just think something needs to be done about that, because does that mean anybody else who buys a plot of land down there can just suddenly start
You're
driving
absolutely
a
right.
car?
And
You know, it's wrong.
it could be a frustration as a council.
Yeah.
I think our hands are tied. I'll take other comments, but I'm conscious if there's not much that we can do, I'm not sure where we can go with this. But I know, David, you're going to come back in the future. I'll take Councillor Chapel, then you, Matt.
I mean, it's unfortunate that there's no NNC councillor here tonight, but I do feel that we ought, as a council, to draw this to the attention of our NNC councillors, because it seems to me that if anybody can do anything about it, it would be NNC. I don't think we would have the power to take any action, but I think they would.
Yeah, and Lita makes a very, very good point. If one does, everybody does.
Yeah, it's just a point of information more than anything else. His houseboat and also the erection of a solar panel and other bits and pieces have been discussed in planning, because he has no planning permission for those either.
So may I suggest a way forward then is for us, you and me, Emma, just to sit down and work out the best way to take this forward. But writing to NNC councillors does seem to be a way to go, and particularly if there's no planning permission either.
Efforts are being made to take it through to NNC, routed through the members of the Local Access Forum and the Rights of Way group.
Okay.
And I'll continue to pursue both those issues.
Please do, Tony, it's a real frustration.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time, thank you for the presentation. Thank you. Item 2566, consideration of requests from interested parties. There are no interested parties here, so we'll move on to item 2567, North Northants Council. As has just been spotted, there are no North Northants councillors here. However, I have communication from two of them. John Hubberston isn't able to make tonight and has apologised, but he has been making efforts. I don't know how many people know, he has been making efforts following conversations with him to see if we can get fairer funding for Houndle. We take on far more responsibility than other councils do, particularly in terms of the cemetery and the like. He put that to a proposal for fairer funding to the Finance Committee a couple of weeks ago. Needless to say, despite support from the Greens and the one Lib Dem, the proposal was not approved. So he isn't able to take that further forward. I've asked him if there's no money available, whether there might be enough money within existing budgets for North Northants to take on the responsibility for things like the cemetery. Unlikely, but we can try. And Unitary Councillor Simon Fairhall has emailed tonight, one with 4 points, one of which I think is very interesting, particularly. He's talked about consultation on the new NNC corporate plan, but says we're already very well aware of this and it's been published widely. He talks about the local plan member advisory group, which covers the needs of our rural part of the authority. He will share some information with us after that meeting. He talks about the Democracy and Standards Committee. There's a review being undertaken to focus on town, parish boundaries and numbers of councillors, which is something we've discussed at this council before. Part of the process will be for someone to engage with the council, or Emma will update councillors as that moves forward. And then finally, the A605, which might be of interest to some or all, and I'll read this verbatim. At the Warmington National Parish Council last week, the A605 was much discussed, especially the quality of road service and noise for Laxton Drive, the amount of traffic and concern that it will grow, the crash hotspot at Elton and safety at roundabouts, also impact of developments, whereas Thrapston and sites in the local plan processes west of Huntingdon, west of A1 Huntingdonshire and Peterborough. And he wonders if a meeting of all parishes stretching along the A14 to A1 stretch of the A605 might be useful if the NNC councillors also came along. I'd be interested in people's views on that and whether it's something we should pursue.
Yes.
So,
No problem.
100%. The planning committee has talked about this before. I totally support it.
So with your permission, we'll write Emma to all the other parish councillors and suggest a forum, or ask if they might be interested in such a forum, and we can move forward from there. Wonderful. Thank you all very much. Now move on to town matters. 256801 to receive an update following a meeting between OTC, represented by David Fuller, and the Co-op regarding antisocial behaviour and I think shoplifting in Oundle, and to agree next steps. I've summarised a paper which David put together. I offered to do that because I thought there might be a proposal within it, but there isn't a proposal within it because we're carrying the proposal forward to October, because the chap from the National Northampton Business Crime Partnership will be along.
Yes.
And we think the police will be here too to talk to us about that particular issue. So I'm not proposing to discuss it in detail now, and we'll discuss it in more detail next month when we have representation from MBCP and the police authority. But if you have any questions or comments, I'd be interested in hearing. James, Ian, I'll come to you.
On the presumption that next month's discussion may end up with a proposal to spend money, will that proposal include a business case of what the value?
Well, it's going to be difficult. It's more, what we're looking for is some CCTV footage where we don't have CCTV at the moment. And that area is St. Osyth, and the other possibility is the car park. And the other thing is the proposal, which just to give you a heads up, is to provide the services of the business, this chap, to the shops that sell products. And that will be the town providing an opportunity to add a security element to people who can take photographs of these people and then share them amongst each other.
And the short answer, James, if there's a proposal coming to spend any money, it has to have a business case.
Yeah, it will do. But it will be based on what the benefits will be, which will be rather helpful to the town.
Indeed. So whether that will be next month or afterwards, after we've had the presentation from the MBCP, we'll discuss. But it will need to be funded properly. Or, I'm sorry, the proposal will need to have a proper business case behind it. Ian?
Again, no detail needed, but there's reference to the marketplace. We have CCTV in the marketplace. Do we know if the police access any of this footage? They do.
Yeah, they have to come to us. They come to us with a report. They'll be coming tomorrow with some CCTV and something.
So they did in the summer then?
Because it's not down the road that the events were taking place.
It's
The co-op is not
further
covered.
Down at the roadside, because it went to the marketplace, did they then use that CCTV footage?
Yeah, the answer
Just
is
uses it. And the big thing from the police, is just a quick summary, information. They work on information. So if we've got evidence, they use it. If we don't have evidence, doesn't matter.
And the paper includes some information about that, and we'll get more about that. So thank you, David, for the work you've done on that. It was a very good meeting. I've spoken to both of the residents who raised the matter, and they're both grateful for the council's
That's the
support.
important thing. This was all set up by two residents, forcing the co-op to the meeting. And that's all to say, but it was two residents who actioned this.
Yep. And they'll keep holding our feet to the fire, but we will move on. 256901 to receive the mayor's report. You guys won't receive the mayor's report because it was in the papers which were sent out. I've got nothing to add really, but I'm happy to take questions or comments on the report. If not any.
Also fish and chips supper.
Well, fish and chips. 256902 to receive the clerk's report. You've seen that. Are there any questions of Emma on the clerk's report? No. Okay. This may take a little longer to consider the operations management paper, which includes a proposal, save for the addition of 2 commas in the paper which shouldn't be there. So I'd like to discuss this, or if anybody has any questions on this. It's essentially picking up on something which Emma and I have discussed in inordinate detail, and has been spoken about again in detail by NCALC. And so this is just really setting out the game rules, if you like, but just formalising them perhaps a little more than they have been in the past. Any comments? Max?
The specific proposal is to recommend that the clerk or oversight of the clerk's work is delegated to the HR committee, with inputs from councillors as appropriate. I'm quite happy with that, but how does that, what the paper doesn't say is how that is a variation from what currently happens. So what is it changing?
So my understanding of the current HR committee is that there's an appraisal once a year, but I intend that the HR committee will work with the clerk on an ongoing basis. So if there are things which are going well, the clerk needs to know, so the staff know. Things which aren't going well, the clerk needs to know, so the staff know. It'll be much more active dialogue. And we speak a lot anyway. I think sometimes Emma wishes I wouldn't speak, but
I'm not quite sure I really understand what that all means.
what the
Do
paper
we
says.
just, like, Emma would feed back to us in the HR committee about any issues that she might have or need support with?
Yep.
Is that what you're saying?
It's
So you would continue, or I, the mayor, would continue to be that manager on a day-to-day basis?
Emma does not report to anyone council.
No, I know she doesn't, but you do the appraisals, the mayor does the appraisals, so somebody has to have responsibility for every person who works in the council. So there has to be some accountability to someone.
Yes. So all of that is really within this. Emma has operational control of all the staff, and anything that requires staff input or staff work has to go through Emma as operations manager, the clerk, you know what I mean. But there needs to be a mechanism, you're quite right, there needs to be a mechanism to feedback both ways, what's working, what's not working. And that can only be through the HR committee, because Emma does not report to the mayor. That's an individual council. That's specifically laid down, isn't it?
You work
So-
together.
I'm sorry?
You work together.
Yes,
You work together.
absolutely we do.
Yeah, but it's not
It's not a line manager role.
It's working together, but it's not, you're not my manager.
No, it's-
Because
Yeah,
you're all my manager.
And it's hard enough having one or two, never mind 14.
But I don't report to an individual councillor, and vice versa, an individual councillor doesn't come and tell me what I should be doing.
But the mayor's role, and currently it's me, and it's been Ian, it's been David, it will be Max, is to work with Emma. And so councillor issues with the clerk or the staff through the HR committee, staff issues with councillors through the HR committee to, at the moment it would be Lita, me, Max, I think Ian and David, and anybody about, you're on the HR committee as well, aren't you? So that's the process. It's really just formalising what should already be formalised. Happy? Ian?
Quick question for Emma. Will this make your life easier?
I think in some ways, if everybody's aware of how it works and we work that way, then it will do, because it will possibly filter out some things that pop in where they've not been discussed in a meeting, agreed in a meeting, because that is where potentially everything that I do and Lisa does comes in via a committee, but then it also gets filtered down to the rest of the staff. So that is the proper way of how things should happen. And it's when things are coming in sideways, and then that's when it causes a lot of confusion for staff.
We have separated out the comms group because that's a very dynamic group. So comms, if councillors want things to be put out on social media, for example, that goes straight into the comms group, goes to Emma, is copied to Rebecca, because that's a dynamic situation. But that exception apart goes through the clerk. David?
Well, it's just a minor point. Presumably, if that's what we decide to do, we're actually going to have to alter the terms of reference of the HR committee to include that within there, because it isn't there yet.
Yeah. It isn't, but there's no point in doing that unless...
No, I appreciate it's a chicken and egg, but the one follows the other.
Absolutely, it does. So if there are no other questions, I'm going to propose that that's the way that we manage council business going forward. I'm proposing it. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Fuller, thank you. All those in favour?
You can put your hand up.
Great. Yeah, you can vote even if you don't want to. Or even if you.
I'm sorry.
Not tonight. Not next tonight.
Watch the sun. I beg your pardon.
You can't. You're an observer then. So Emma, that's passed. Thank you. That's particularly germane when we come on to the next item on the agenda, 256904, to receive the strategy proposals, the paper that I've written. We can discuss it as a whole. We can discuss each proposal separately. I don't mind which. But the essence of that paper is to say, unless something has to be done, as it says in the operations management paper, unless it's a statutory requirement or an operations management requirement, we focus as councillors, the staff focus on the strategic matters in front of us, and they're primarily marketing, estates, parking, and business continuity plan, because we don't have one. And the time to wish we had one is not when there's a disaster, it's beforehand. So I'm happy to take discussions, I'm happy to take comments, I'm happy to take arguments. Max.
I don't know whether this is deliberately in yellow, but on my paper, I assume it's the one that was circulated to everybody. There's a paragraph that's highlighted in yellow, which is further proposed, blah, 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 that each named committee, etc., is asked to report to October. I don't mind, I'm talking on behalf of the estates, I don't mind reporting, but I think October is too soon. I think November might be more pragmatic, if only because, well, we haven't even agreed an agenda for the September meeting yet. I can imagine that, I just think October's too soon. Yeah, it's going to need more than one meeting to do what you're asking here.
I say October only because we have to do budgets in November.
And I just want to echo that as well, especially on the marketing working party when we've got the MBA project going, and we're not really going to get any feedback from that until early December at the earliest. So it's going to be quite difficult for that particular working group to put something forward there.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments?
Yes.
David? I'll come to you.
It's one of those things where you've got different manoeuvring, different things to be in the right place. Is it possible for those committees that said they can't do it in October to at least have the budgetary idea? Because that's what you want for the budget to be set. You need to have an idea of what is the budget that you can do. And that could vary, but it's just an idea, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the idea, sorry, are there any other questions or comments? I'll come back on all of those. The idea, sorry, Ian.
I was going to say point number 3, the transport working part, probably meant to be party. Says that we're going to identify potential car parking improvements by the end of April 26. I suppose we can identify them all we like. We don't have any authority to do anything about it. So as long as that's part of what we identify.
To identify, and we can take it forward. And the point about this piece in yellow, so that's a good intro, Ian, thank you, is what plans will you have? Not implementation, not completion, not fixed, but what plans and ideas will you have for October, 4 weeks away? If you want to make it November, I have no problem with that. I just know that if things continue, if things get put back, at what stage they take action. So November is fine. This is for all of us to agree or not. But at this stage, it's just saying, thank you, I'll come to you. At this stage, it's just saying, is it reasonable for each committee to come back with ideas as to how they're going to take their particular goals forward by October? Is that reasonable or not? Emma?
Does that mean then, point 7, I'm not going to be able to achieve that in October because I'm not going to know what's come out from the other committee?
No, you can't. That we can leave that as well, yeah. David?
I'm just looking at the last bit before the exclusions. Finally, it's proposed that unless deemed urgent, all or an operational necessity, any other strategic or operational actions are to be managed, etc. To define what strategic and operational management mean in this context, because I'm not clear exactly what's meant. I can kind of hazard a guess, but I suspect that there are 14 people around this, actually 13 people around this table, and we get 13 different views as to what it means.
Yes, and it's one of those things you'll know when you see it. I've touched on it in the operational management paper. So day-to-day operations, making sure we invoice people, making sure we bill people, making sure we pay people, making sure we follow out council orders. Strategic stuff is making the plans to achieve the ends that we put in the papers. So strategic is planning, operational is doing. But what I've also said, I think I've said this in the operational paper as well, if there's uncertainty as to who has what responsibility, we will agree at the time, we'll have the council meeting, and then it's going to include in the minutes who has which actions and what deadlines have been set. So it's very clear who's responsible for what. Max.
A slightly different point, under point 4, where you, as mayor, are seeking to establish formal working relationships with schools and other organisations around towns. Without wishing to create more work for myself, you might want to include the deputy mayor as well, if only because if you're talking about next steps by April 2026, you're only mayor for a month after that. And I'm thinking about succession, if you see what I mean. We just need to build in a bit of succession here.
You've spotted my cunning plan. The dates in there are targets are not obligatory, so if I've got all that sorted by January, February, great, but I should include you, you're absolutely right. Were you? Oh, you're doing your hair. I thought you were full hands. It's not from my house. Any other comments or questions or thoughts? In that case, I'm going to propose, as it says in the paper, as just
Which one do you want?
yeah. So the 5 matters in that proposal are the proposal, or is the proposal, I should say, and report back as it says in there. I'll put all those dates that say October
To November.
back to November.
Yeah.
I put all the dates that say October back to November. Anything after November stays as is. That's my proposal. And that will give us something to work on. And whether we succeed or not, if we have some direction and some focus, hopefully we'll move forward in all of those areas. So I propose it's seconded by Councillor Fuller. All those in favour of this strategic plan? Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Good stuff.
Next item, 256905, to approve the Commons Working Party terms of reference. Ian, do you have anything to add to that, to those terms of reference?
No, it's just to really bring back the terms of reference to the meeting again after Max's comments at the last council meeting.
Okay.
Primarily to make sure that there was separation from the oversight, where council members were the managing area, whereas the clerk has got operational control. So we amended the clerk and I amended the terms of reference to reflect that.
Wonderful, thank you. So are you proposing these?
Yes, please.
Wonderful. Can I have a seconder for the Commons Working Party terms of reference?
I am.
Councillor Fuller, thank you. All those in favour of the Commons Working Party terms of reference? Thank you. Staying with you, Ian. 256906, to approve members from the Andal Business Association, Andal School, to join the Marketing Working Party. These are positions for the organisations and not necessarily for individuals.
Yes, that is correct. As you know, we've got the Marketing Working Party is fairly new. We do have a brief to bring other sort of interested parties into it. We want to keep it fairly tight, but we do certainly have interest from the OBA and the Oundle School to be part of that. In fact, Oundle School's very, very interested in that. So as a working party, I believe we have to have permission from the council to be able to do that.
You do, but you're thinking if any other groups are interested, you'll consult with, but not have another part of the core group. Questions? Max, did you have a question?
Well, it was we've just approved the terms of reference. I'm just wondering whether or not, having approved them, we should have actually said.
That's common.
Oh, sorry, my mistake. Ignore me then.
Okay, happy to do that, Ian.
A declaration of interest. I work for Oundle School. Just so I mention it.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments to Ian? IQ? No? Is that your proposal?
I propose that.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Fordham, all those in favour? Thank you. Off you go, Ian. 256907, James, this is you, to receive an update on planning for the 25-26 budget process and to offer training in the new tools to elected members and officers. Budget management is becoming increasingly important given what this tool indicates, especially when you look at estates. So I think it's the work that James has done with Paul and with them. I think it's fabulous work. James, do you want to talk to your fabulous work?
Yes, so under your operations management paper, I'm working for Emma and at their invitation. So we started out from the asset register, doing a thorough review of what was becoming a bit out of control. So there'll be a proposal coming forward at some point to rationalise that and take that down a bit. Not least because you actually have to verify the existence of everything on the asset register, and when there's 300 items, that could take a while. So we went with that, the 100 most important. But reviewing that, when you've got 2 council vans, 2 areas of play equipment or 3 areas of play equipment, it very quickly emerges that the amount of investment that is going to be needed in those items over the next 5 years is probably around, or perhaps even in excess of £250,000. And whilst we have reserves, they are all unallocated, so that whenever anybody goes, well, we've got an idea that we might need to spend some money in the future, or we've got this big pot, by the time you actually allocate it out, you suddenly realise that yes, it is a big pot, but the potential expenses are even greater than that. So as part of the budget process, where Emma has a new requirement on her to produce a 5-year budget, which will be the entire life of this current elected membership. So that's going to be quite interesting, given that we've got to produce that and agree it in December. So there needs to be a proposal in November, which would have hopefully been based on a whole lot of work from all the other working parties coming back in October. So we can see that if we push that work back a little, then November is going to be interesting. But as part of trying to do that, in understanding when we're investing money over the next 5 years, we thought it was worth having a tool that said, well, if you're going to spend £100,000 in year 4, are you going to just put £100,000 on the precept in year 4? And my understanding of how the council likes to behave is not to shock the residents by suddenly putting the precept up by £100,000. So there might be an idea that says, well, actually, we need to save for that over the preceding 4 years, or even allocate some of our existing reserves to that. And so the piece of work that probably needs to happen in the next month or so, in October, is to take what we already know that we've got, that we already know that we need to replace, and just play with a spreadsheet a bit and say, well, if we ring fence all of our existing reserves, what does that do to the precept? Or if we allocate all the existing reserves, fine, that helps us keep the precept low, but it also then means that anybody that hasn't come back prior to this spending the money exercise is suddenly going to be disappointed if and when they come back in November and ask for another £100,000. So, so the offer is there to all members, and Emma has already accepted on behalf of her officers to just understand how that spreadsheet works and perhaps play with it just in a few scenarios, so that when we get to October or November and have a real budget meeting, people are already knowing that, you know, how to flex the numbers, how a thing works. And so we're not spending an hour actually discussing what happens if I change that number.
So what James has very kindly offered to do is to take the spreadsheet he's got, the potential allocation of our existing reserves to pay for or to put aside for future spend, to show how we can manage our finances over the next 4 or more years. So I would urge people to go along to James's training session, have a look at the spreadsheet. It's a very, very good piece of work. It will be enormously helpful to us from a capital allocation point of view, but it does mean that as part of that process, we have to be really clear about where money is coming from. And if we're looking to spend money which isn't already in the budget, then we need to think very carefully about how that is going to be funded, or indeed, if it's going to be funded. Now, I know that there are, because I've seen budgets for 3 years now, I know that on occasion we have underspent some of our budgets in the past. That's fine. That indicates either we haven't budgeted as effectively as we might have done, or it indicates leeway within those budgets. But if you run out of budget and you want to spend money that's not in your budget, then you're going to have to find a different budget to get that money from, and that will require a proposal in front of the council to say, I want to take money from there and put it here, and that will have to go through the finance committee as well. So it's kind of professionalising the whole process. It needs to be done. When I looked at the spreadsheet, I was quite taken aback at the amount of assets we've got, the amount of money we'll have to spend over the next 5 to 10 years. And if we share that, let's say we've got a 10-year asset and it was bought 4 years ago, we should have saved 40% of that replacement cost by now. But unless we allocate that 40% out of our existing budget, we're going to be enormously surprised in 6 years' time when, as James has said, we've got £100,000 to spend. So stage one, very kind of from James, would be fabulous if a lot of people can make that. If you can't, that's fine. I'm sure we can find other ways to show people that. Then stage two, as part of the budgeting process, let's think very carefully about what we spent before, whether that's an appropriate spend for the future. Ian.
Is there a fixed date?
So the first stage was to circulate the spreadsheet to everybody, and that's in the pack. Obviously, anybody that's aware of Excel and having to play with it can work it out themselves. But for anybody that wasn't particularly strong in that area, I was happy to talk it through. So the first question was if anybody would like to actually sit down so we can discuss it, come back to Emma, and we will field expressions of interest and we'll sort out a convenient date.
We could probably sort of circle that now. Who would be interested in getting shown this spreadsheet and trained in its use? Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6. I'm going to include James because I think he's probably interested, and Alison and Owen. So if you suggest 2 or 3 dates. I would use Doodle, Emma.
I know, that's what I was looking at.
I'll blow myself out.
Just to let you know, I'm on holiday as of tomorrow until the 2nd of October.
Okay, we'll do up to that.
So, it could be after then, but I just know.
I can take an organisation. Yep, I can do that.
And we could set some dates.
I'll work with you, James.
Yeah.
Are you okay with that?
Yeah, just copy me in.
Well, you're going to be invited.
I want to do the call.
You can watch from holiday.
Yeah, all right, yeah.
Right, back to the meeting, Rob.
One of the issues in previous years has been the way in which some of the budget lines are described, such that we can't move and be agile with moving money around. That's often led to an underspend, even if we wanted to spend. As part of this exercise, we'll be looking at the way we're assigning and aligning across committees rather than very specific individual projects.
We're going to have to bring that into mind. I don't think we're going to solve it all this year, frankly, because there's so much to be done to bring it up to a standard that I think we want to get to. So it might not be this year, it might be next year, but I think we'll do the best we can to be as inclusive as we can when we're sorting out this year's budget process. Any other questions or comments? So the action point, Emma, for the minutes is for me to work with James to identify a date that, in fact, I'll invite everybody and then you can either say, I'm not interested, I am interested, I don't want to come, or I can come. I will do that tomorrow. Moving on then to item 2570, financial matters, 2570-01, to approve the bank rec, balance sheet and budgets for July and August. Who's EC?
Me?
I thought you were EB.
Yes, I am.
Good.
Well, just double check my name.
Has that been minuted?
My wife was very worried that she was having to turn up.
Yeah,
I've got it everywhere.
it's through the whole,
That's, do you know what?
including
That's
cut
my
and
maiden
paste
name.
it.
So anyway,
That's a very public way of doing
before we get into Emma's private life, I'm going to ask if we have a proposer to approve the bank rec, balance sheet and budgets for July and August. I'm happy to propose that we do. Seconder, Ian?
Yeah.
Seconder, Ian. IDC. All those in favour? Thank you. Item 2570-02, the proposition is that the schedule of payments for July be retrospectively approved and the September items be approved as presented at this item are paid. I'm not sure it's English or who EC is, but can we have a proposer that we pay these items?
Sorry, it says July, should it not be July and August?
It should be July and August.
Retrospectively?
Yeah.
Do we need to change the proposition?
I can change the proposition now. Or we can, I think in theory, I amend the proposition.
Okay.
And we vote on the amendment. Can we include August in the proposition? Aye. So the proposition now reads that the schedule of payments for July and August, thank you Max, be retrospectively approved and the September items be approved as presented at this meeting. Do I have a proposer? Councillor Fuller. Thank you. A second, Councillor Shore. All those in favour? Thank you. Item 2570-03 to receive the Finance and General Purposes Committee meetings minutes held on the 9th of September. Again, those are just to receive, so we don't need to approve them, we just need to accept, acknowledge receipt. So I will ask if there are any questions of the Finance and General Purposes Committee. Seeing none. 2570-04 to agree receipt of the completed AGAR for the year end 31st March 2025 and note there are no other matters to report. Again, EC. So I'm going to stop that. Do we need to approve this or do we just agree receipt of it?
Well, you agreed to receive it and
Okay.
we had to know that there were no matters.
Okay, so in that case, I will propose we get receipt of that. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Fuller, thank you. All those in favour? Wonderful. We move on to 2570-05 to approve the quotes to carry out essential year one priority work to trees. This would normally be, so our new members know this would normally be managed in estates because they have the budget, but estates weren't quorate to have the meeting to approve this. So it's being asked for approval at full council. Max, do you have anything to add to this?
Oh, absolutely none. I mean, it is a priority. It's something which we pretty much have to do.
Yeah. But we need council approval. So is that your proposal? Is there budget? Is there
Yes,
is there a budget, Emma, for this?
Yeah,
Good.
it's in budget.
That's your
That's
proposal.
£1,920.
Wonderful. Seconded. All those in favour? Sorry, David, did you have a point?
My only point was, there's only the one quote here, and there's certainly more than one potential tree person. I just wondered why we'd only gone for the one.
This is our preferred person that we use for all the batteries. We
He's-
have got quotes in the past, but Chris comes out as a cheap option.
Each time.
So proposed,
I can't remember what it says in standing orders, but it's been proposed. Thank you, David. It's been proposed, it's been seconded. All those in favour? Thank you. 2571 Highways Matters, 257101 to receive the speed indicator device report. That's info only. So any comments or questions? None. We'll move on to item 257102 to receive the update following the meeting with North West Highways to discuss reinstating bollards and the bike rack and agree next steps. So the paper you've got in front of you has one proposal, which is that we discuss the parking restrictions outside Tesco's, whether it should be 30 minutes. It also includes an update on the other matters which were discussed at that Highways meeting, and I particularly want to draw your attention to the bollards discussion, which will go to estates because it's their jurisdiction. But essentially, the bollards outside Tesco's can be replaced at significantly less cost than NNC would have charged us. I think it's going to be less than 2,000. They initially indicated 5, but there are some works that need to be done by the engineers that will go to estates. But I'm interested to know 2 things. 1, any comments on the report as and 2, any comments on whether we should try to get the parking outside Tesco changed to 30 minutes.
yes.
Thank you. Ian.
The only thing about the 30 minutes is it was recommended in the TPP report we had, so
We just followed the recommendation.
we follow their recommendation and they have data and they say it's a good way of getting churn through the market.
If enforced. So it's really following something we've already discussed at council. Excellent. So that's the proposal, that we try to get the Tesco parking restrictions down to 30 minutes. I'm proposing that. I'm a seconder. Of course, many thank you. All those in favour? Wonderful. 1 abstention, Emma.
So there's an abstention.
1 abstention or against?
Abstention.
Abstention. Thank you. I wonder if you wanted to say anything and I missed you. No, okay.
Well, because there are so many, I've heard so many different views about what people think. If you haven't got people checking it, it's pointless in having a rule.
Quite. One of the other things which we'll come on to in the transport paper is at that Highways meeting we said, are there any enforcement officers? They came back and said, on average, 7.5 visits a month. I think, and this will be something for the transport committee or working party to take up if agreed, I think we should go back and say, how effective is it? Because I don't see them 7.5 times a month. You don't think we see them at all?
No.
But we'll come to that under transport. We'll move on to planning matters. 257201 to receive reports on the NNC community governance review. David, is this something you want to speak to?
I suppose so, yeah.
It's voluntary.
Yeah, I know it is, but the last time something like this came up, as a council, we managed to upset Ashton, Barnwell, Stoke Doyle, and Clapham. Because we left it very late, decided we needed to put in submissions and push in submissions, which they all saw as some kind of land grab. But it's very clear that NNC are looking again at the whole parish boundary issues. And in the paper I kind of set out what I understood from the papers I've seen about timescales and so on. And so we're going to get a consultation. First we're having a consultation in not that long a time. And it's abundantly obvious that the boundaries around this town make little or no sense. leave aside Ashton for 1 second, but just muse on the development of Cotterstock Meadows, part of which lies in Blackthorn, which has no physical connection whatsoever to that site. And you see instantly there's a problem. Arundel Sewage Works actually aren't in Arundel, which lie just beyond them. If you go out towards Blackthorn, the last development on the left-hand side as you pass it, Old Farm Lane, is part of Blackthorn and not part of Arundel. And if you start thinking about the Barnwell issue, there is a natural dividing line down the A605 between the village of Barnwell, which lies one side of it, and Arundel, which lies the other, except for the fact that the country park and the marina are technically in Barnwell parish. I suspect that as a council, we should be forming a view about the submissions that we want to make. Whether we want to engage in some way with affected councils is another matter. Might be particularly interesting for myself since I sit on both this council and Blackthorn. But I know that there are people at Blackthorn who feel that the current boundary makes no sense whatsoever and indeed is actually a threat to some sort of coalescence between the village of Blackthorn and Arundel, and they're desperate to maintain a green strip between the two parts. That means certainly cutting off Old Farm Lane, and logically, frankly, the Cotterstock Meadows development as well. I think it's an interesting question as to where actually this issue best sits, but there's only two places. It either sits with planning or it sits with full council. And conscious of how much time full council has for matters like this, it seems to me to make more sense to invite the planning committee to put a recommendation to this council about possible submissions. And then this council could decide whether to share those with other councils or actually enter into discussions of any sort with other councils. I'm not quite sure how you discuss something like that, because either it changes or it doesn't. There's not an awful lot of room for negotiation unless you start dividing up part of the Cotterstock Meadows development, so you can have those 6 houses in there, which doesn't seem very much.
That kitchen, we'll have this bedroom.
Well, there is one property where it does actually go through the kitchen, but that's another story.
So, David, is it your proposal is that your proposal?
Yeah, I
Take
think
this
the
back to
proposal is
planning,
that
and you come back with a proposal to the next council.
They can look at it in the September meeting.
Yeah.
Whether they'll feel able to come back with a proposal in therefore or October, or whether in fact having discussed it in September, there's then a wish to perhaps formalise it in October and report to council in November, which would still on the face of it fit with the timescales, although it cuts down to consultation time with other councils. I think we'll have to be left to planning. They may have strong views about it, they may have very few views about it, I don't know until we discuss it.
I will take comments and then we'll come back with a formal proposal. Rob.
Just a quick understanding from my own perspective, and maybe David, you're best to advise here. What are the criteria that would justify including, is it purely geographical or some of the mix of assets in the town?
There's a whole wide sort of range of things that you can look at. But obviously features like geographical features, location of the river, for example. I would argue the location of the A605 as a major trunk sort of road going through the area. But also you can look at things that are perhaps rather more subjective in the sense of Barnwell Country Park is probably thought of as being Arundel Country Park by everybody in Arundel. No, it's probably thought of by visitors to the area as the country park in Arundel, despite its name. Oundle Marina definitely, because it even has Oundle in the name, despite where it is. So you've got aspects like that as well. And just like sort of sheer common sense, there seems to be no logic to the current boundaries, as I say, with Gladthorne.
Just common sense is it's not common. Does that answer your question?
It does, I think it's useful for us to have that conversation with them.
100% agree. I think also if we're going to do it, let's not make the mistake we made before of putting in the application and being perceived in the wrong kind of way. So, any other comments or thoughts as to how we do it, Phil?
Who would make the final decision on boundary change? Where does the buck start?
NNC.
Right.
This is, because it's at sort of parish level, and also looking at wards and things, it's NNC. There has very recently been a Boundary Commission for England review of parliamentary boundaries. I think to some extent that's rather kick-started NNC to look at it, coupled with the fact that, of course, NNC is now one of two unitary authorities within the county, and that's not really been thought of in this context either. So, and it's also some time since it was last done. I think 2018 rings a bell, which is 7 years ago.
Can I just ask, would there be any financial implications to us, or is it purely just saying the boundaries there?
There would indeed. This may be the best.
Would we then be responsible for managing it?
Well,
funding
I mean, I don't think so much that. It will increase the population in the parish if, for example, we ended up taking the whole of the Cotteston Meadows development, which would bump up our precept and have a rather unfortunate negative effect on the precept of Gladthorne, which I know it could be an issue between those two councils. There's also another side effect, which I just will mention briefly. When we talked about this previously, some years ago, we looked at the A1 Reedland site, which became Laxton Drive, situated just as it were opposite the old Derrick Riverside pub. I'm going to get me started on that one. And we thought, well, everybody assumes that's part of Oundle. Of course, the parish boundary is at the bridge, and Laxton Drive is in Ashton. And Ashton got particularly upset about it because if they lost those houses, they'd move from being a parish council to a parish meeting. And so sometimes you may want to take account of the politics of the situation.
We'll wait to see what planning board say. Any other questions?
Just it touches on that really. It strikes me we've got good relations with Gladthorne, we've got good relations with Barnwell. Isn't it worth flagging that we're going to talk about it sooner rather than later?
With other councils?
Yeah, just at least say, this review's coming up, we're going to start talking about it, let's get ready to talk about something at some point.
We have the perfect opportunity if we start talking about the A605.
But I'll do a follow-on for Ian's point of view about that perhaps it's a mayor thing when the mayor's, this is such an intensely important thing which will change things around the parishes. There is a benefit obviously in terms of making sense, but the cost to some parishes. And so I think a mayor gathering will explain.
Yeah, I mean, it might be the A605 is the time to do that.
I think that would be good.
Is it worth starting to have those conversations before planning?
I mean, planning's obviously not very far off. We're talking
It's
about
Tuesday week.
Yeah.
Perhaps you and I can catch up after, or even at.
Yeah, well, we could have a conversation after we've had the meeting.
Wonderful. So action point for David and for me.
Good luck.
So again?
Good luck.
I'm not known for my tact or diplomacy, so we'll move on. 2573, Estate Management Committee. Again, this would normally, both of these I think would normally go into estates, but the lack of a meeting last week, 2 weeks ago, means that they've come to full council. Max, do you have anything to add to 257301 to approve the locations of 3 benches and picnic table on Plainfield?
No, very quickly. So the reason it's here is because there was no estates meeting in September. In case people are unaware, we've lost 2 members of that committee. If not 3 members, actually. 3 members. So basically, unless everybody turns up, we're not quorum. Just saying. No pressure. No pressure.
Alison is busy studying her papers.
We need to take that forward another time. So they're only here because we didn't have a chance to discuss them and we need to make a decision on both of them. The first one has already been approved by the OTCFF, Plainfield Association Working Group. We hopefully just need to sign it off. It's essentially what Plainfield Association want. We have talked about it. Is there any objections?
Are there any objections to the proposal?
No. This is benches and picnic table.
So is that formal proposal from you, Max?
Yeah, probably.
Formal proposal, seconded, Councillor Chester, thank you. All those in favour? Wonderful, thank you.
And shall I move on to the second one, John?
Please do, yeah.
So the second one, again, it's really here because of the urgency. It can't really wait until the next estates meeting. Had it come to the estates meeting, as chair, I would have said, why has this come to this meeting? Because you can see from the email and the email from the co-op to Lisa, they're essentially asking permission to take down the lorry damaged, whatever, shelter thing. I'm not sure it's in our gift to give permission, is it?
I'll give you a bit of background on this.
Okay.
Obviously, the car park is leased to the co-op. So the car park is town council, so it is classed as an asset. So that's potentially why it's in states. The co-op didn't know who had put that porch thing up.
Right.
They thought it was something to do with us.
I don't think it is, no.
I think it's just something that they did when they built.
Yeah.
And so they want to take it down and they don't want to put it back. Well, it's down.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've had to take it down today, but they wanted to know, because they thought it might be something to do with us, they just came and said, we don't really want it to go back up.
So it's moved on, because that was my question. It's like, well, why are they asking us when it's nothing to do with us?
They're asking if they've got to replace it.
Yeah.
So is that a planning thing or is it anything to do with us at all?
I would suggest that you just say they don't want to replace it.
Fine. Councillor
The
Chester.
reason it was erected was because we were trying to control the size of vehicles going into that car park.
Unfortunately, they never put a sign on it to say how high it was. So that's why it's been repeatedly hit.
It isn't just a bit of somebody's fancy, I'm saying it's there for a very good reason.
So do you think we should be saying they should put it back up?
Think about it, but I'm certainly saying yes.
Thank you. David.
So why it's so.
What we could say is that we do not require them to put it back now, but that we will monitor the impact on the car park area. And if there appears to be problems by reason of its removal, such as Alice just pointed out, then we might want to go back to them and ask them to look at reinstating something. Even if it's only one of those, room things again.
If we had the authority, Ian.
While that may well have been the case, there's nothing to prevent vehicles of any height going in the other entrance.
But it still doesn't stop.
No, I've put minibuses in that are okay. 6 meters high. No, I've never hit them up yet.
So moving back to the agenda item, sorry, what did you hear?
So just to be clear, I think in the communications I saw, the expectation was that they would be replacing it. I personally think they probably don't need to do, but just by the back and forth communication.
I think it was all because nobody really knew why it was there, and they thought maybe we put it there. We then said, no, it's nothing to do with us. But I don't even know I mean, when you're talking about putting things, you have to have a set height on it. I don't even know whether it even had a proper height. And it certainly should have a label on it saying how high it was.
So I guess the question is, what authority do we have to approve or require that they take down or build up?
I think it's just,
I think it's a courtesy.
They're being
Courtesy,
polite.
okay.
It's probably courtesy, but
Yeah.
since they do lease it, one could look at the lease and see if there's any provision in there for us
Yeah,
dictating something like that. I have no idea.
Perfect,
I'm quite happy to take a look at it for.
okay.
perfect. I think that's the answer. We need a proposal,
I
but,
think, well, Lisa and I, we've both got copies of this and there's nothing in there.
so there's nothing in there.
There's nothing in there to say that they've got to do that in. They've got to have that kind of thing.
Wonderful. So that probably leaves us clear, but David, if you're prepared to have a look at the lease, just a second pair of eyes. Yep, so if we make that an action, Emma, please, then we can take it from there. Moving on, 2574, Communications Working Party to receive.
Sorry,
Yes,
so are we saying that they don't have to, I'm going to go back and say that's the replacement.
well, actually, we do need to propose and approve that. So what's the formal proposal, Max?
Well, I didn't formulate the proposal because it's basically an email to Lisa asking for our approval. Sorry, and just to rehash, I don't think we need to give our approval.
No.
It's not in our gift. That's my point.
So perhaps the thing to do,
I'll go back to say,
well, almost before we do that, perhaps the thing to do is for David to look at the lease. If I could just a second to make a suggestion. For David to look at the lease, and unless there's anything in there, in the lease that requires us to be more formal, go back and just acknowledge their letter. David, and then
It's a
Ian.
big question of, as it were, a requirement, but we may have a power. And in a sense, if there's a power,
We should reserve.
we need to make a decision. The decision might be, we don't need to put it back up again, but I think we would need to do that. So if we could defer a response, if Emma could send it to me, and if I can liaise with Emma and yourself.
That would be much better.
so
Before we do that, Ian,
bring back here, or,
just take Ian.
because I thought it was quite urgent, that's why it was on.
It's liaison
Could we assume that the answer is that we anticipate that we'll be telling them that they don't need to put it back unless it becomes apparent that if we've got the power to make them do it, we might want to have that further considered. Whether or not, with the obvious place to do it would probably be in the States. The States will meet again before this committee.
There is a certain urgency in this. I'm going to take Ian's point, then make a suggestion.
Toby, the senior estates manager, says we want to work with Oundle Town Council to reinstate a suitable alternative. Could we just propose that we will work with Toby to look to reinstate a suitable alternative if required?
Oh, I hadn't realised that was the word.
I think something along those lines. So perhaps if you draft something, oh, you won't have time, will you? Because you're going away tomorrow.
No, I won't have time to do anything with this.
Given the
I was
urgency-
going to hand it back to Lisa as
Given
well.
the urgency of the matter, given the urgency of the matter, if Lisa can work with David and me, we'll have a look at the lease and formulate a reply which Lisa can send.
Yeah.
We happy with that?
Yeah.
Emma, you happy with that? Wonderful. 257401 to receive the draft Oundle advertiser article for the October edition. That's been received. Are there any questions or comments on the Oundle advertiser article? Ian, will that go to Oundle Life as usual?
Hopefully Rebecca's sent it.
Yeah. 257402 to report the Walking Tour app has been renewed for 14 months. Are you in a position to give a bit of background to this, or shall I?
Yes, we had an email coming from the person that manages it, well, doesn't manage it, but I don't know what to call an app, holds the app and the renewal.
Curates the app.
And it was up for renewal. Anyway, there was a bit of communication and it ended up being approved. But it just raised the reason it's on the agenda. The approval has been renewed. Well, it has been renewed. It's going to be for 14 months. but it's just going to give us an opportunity to be able to, for marketing to have a look at it and see whether we want to continue with it or change anything, or if we're happy with it, but we're going to start publicising it so people can use it.
So that'll go on to the marketing working party.
Very good.
Comms working party. Max.
I'd just like to point out that Andal Historical Society has various walking tours or texts of walking tours, as does the museum. And it really would be good if we could try and unify these into a single approved set of walking tours. That's all.
Can we make that a marketing party?
Yeah.
Wonderful, thank you, Ian.
The 2 tours that are on there are
Sorry, on that,
yeah, and the museum doesn't want anything to do with it.
Well,
Time and time again, I'm trying to say.
Ian,
Good luck.
IQ.
Yeah, I'm happy to take on board on the marketing working party. I also think the app is a very, very good tool, and I think it will actually become significant when the MBA students come back, because I think we'll be able to expand the use of that particular tool in the marketing realm.
So if we take the lot of comments and put it onto marketing, that would be helpful, and Ian, thank you for taking that on. Item 257403, to receive the Comms Working Party minutes from the meeting held on the 25th of July. We've received those minutes. Are there any comments or questions about those minutes? Wonderful, thank you. Marketing Working Party, to receive the minutes from the Marketing Working Party's meetings held on 25th July and 8th of September. Any comments or questions of the chair on those? Carry on the good work, Ian. Transport Working Party 257601, to receive an update from the Transport Working Party. Bill, this is yours. You made the summary. Do you want to go through each recommendation separately, or can we just take it all together?
Basically, the priority parking and the transport, and I believe there's basically 5 areas. Parking options, so going through all the various different areas within a certain radius of the centre. And I have made recommendations about how long I think we should have changes made to how long people can stop in each of these areas. The second part was parking enforcement, which then cascades down into the other ones, which are traffic signs and road markings, tackle persistent parking offenders and inconsiderate parking. It all comes back down to enforcement. The whole thing, you might as well just throw away if we've got nobody policing this. And I'm not seeing anything. Today, I actually looked along West Street. There's 3 cars that consistently park in there all day. Some of them, or at least one of them, park in there 24/7. Now and again, it will get moved, but it will come back in. And it's just not being enforced. And so we're wasting our time if we're talking about making changes to anything.
Is it worth chasing up the traffic enforcement people to see what?
Clearly, we need actual evidence to support their claim that they're coming along, not excellent with time.
We'll move forward with the proposal in a second, but does anybody have any comments? Ian, you've been involved, or you're a part of, or you lead the Transport Working Party. Do you have anything to add, or?
We haven't had a chance to talk about it specifically.
Okay.
And I think we need to go back and put it into the frame of the TPP report we had, because that's where all the data is.
Yeah.
And some of the recommendations that Bill's made are slightly different. But everything comes back to the fact we can talk about it till we're blue in the face. No, we can't do anything about it. So we need to get NNC on board with whatever we decide.
So can I suggest then, sorry, David?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we've got a policeman, we've also got PCSO. I think if we as a group said, this is what we want to emphasise, I mean, there is the survey, which I keep banging on about, comes out every quarter, and is how you set the police priorities. Now, traffic and police two slightly separate issues. And I don't know traffic is not. You can add it as a note, you can add it as a note, you can add it as a little thing. So a lot of voices were saying parking, that's how you do it, that's through the police route. Traffic is another one, that I could, on behalf of the council, approach there and say, look, we've got a massive issue with parking, how can you help us?
Perhaps I think to do the two issues here. One is perhaps the Transport Working Party.
I'll ask them.
But I think obviously the police, the local police guy talking in QV8.
Yes.
And he actually said they have no power.
But what about the parking illegally?
Yeah, that's not the main problem. It's just parking.
What I'm going to suggest,
Every day.
what I'm going to suggest,
It's obstruction.
Yes.
what I'm going to suggest is that it's not a matter for council to discuss, it's a matter for the Transport Working Party to discuss and come back with a proposal.
Yeah, that's fair.
Absolutely.
Thank you for what you've done on that, Phil. I also wonder whether, as was mentioned in the highways report, we have been told that traffic enforcement officers appear, but we have no evidence. I wonder if it's worth, as part of your deliberations, considering whether we should be writing to traffic enforcement saying, give us the data.
We've had them here, and yeah, they outsource to someone else, etc., etc. So we can ask.
Okay.
Well, we could ask the advance the meeting, so that the information is available to me.
So the Transport Working Party action is to come back to a future meeting.
So there's one question.
Yes.
Thrapston, what will Thrapston do? Because they're very similar to us in terms of size. It'd be interesting to know what Thrapston does, because they have possibly similar things, but they might have a solution.
We will leave that to the Transport Working Party to consider. HR Committee 257701 to receive the minutes from the HR Committee meeting on the 9th of September. Minutes have been sent out. Any comments or questions about the HR Committee meeting?
I have one,
Rita.
just a little one, because I was on the phone in the meeting, as you know, and I did lose a bit of communication, I don't know. But my recollection was we agreed the admin officer role to be initially 25 hours a week.
Yeah.
But then with a view to developing the role, which it says in the minutes, and then possibly making it more permanent. But it doesn't reflect that in the minutes. It just sounds as though it's just a 12-month contract. And
But if you look at item 257702, which could be extended once the strategy has been approved. So I think it is catered for. Any other questions or? Okay, so let's move on to that item. This has been something which the HR Committee discussed for some considerable time. The recruitment of an admin assistant, this is not a new role, this is a replacement for a previous role. The HR Committee effectively said we should do this because the clerk, the deputy clerk and the communications officer are not performing their roles as effectively as they might because they're involved in a lot of administrative work. However, we also said because the strategy may change things, this can't be a permanent role, we'll make it a temporary role for 12 months. And during that period of time, which in my view ought to be 9 months or less, we determine what the structure will be and whether we retain, and if we retain, how we retain. Yeah. That's a proposal, Lita.
Just coming back to it, that's the point I was making. It doesn't actually reflect it. It says develop the role within the 12-month period. That doesn't mean that it could be extended.
No, but the proposal in 7702 does. So we can change the minutes to reflect the proposal.
I don't see what it says.
Have you got 27? Have you got?
It's the next bit.
The proposal on the agenda rather than the minutes. Lita, if you move to the agenda for this meeting.
Right, yes.
Item 257702.
Yeah, but that's not part of the minutes, is it? That's surely the agenda.
We can change
That's
the
my
minutes.
point.
Yeah.
That it's
I can
not
change
in
the minutes
minutes.
for the next HR meeting, that's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying. It's not in the minutes, but it's in the agenda, which won't be recorded as minutes, if that makes
No, I
sense.
think,
That makes perfect sense. We'll change the minutes to match this. At this meeting, we're asking council to approve the recruitment or the replacement of an admin officer to release the clerk, deputy clerk, and the comms officer from admin stuff. As has been said, I don't know if this will become a permanent role or how it will be developed. We need to get the strategy stuff sorted out. And there are, as we've discussed, procedures which could be automated or improved, and that's part of the whole process over the next 6 to 9 months to determine how we're going to staff the requirements of the council. So unless there are any changes to that proposal, I'm going to ask for a seconder. But first of all, I want to see if there are any changes to that proposal or questions of that proposal.
I've got a question.
Yeah.
Are we approving that that person is now appointed, or are we approving the idea and then we're told what the job description, pay scale, cost and all that?
We're approving the
it will be
recruitment.
as the current, the pay scale will be as the current.
Because that none of that's on the paperwork. So I don't know what we're actually approving.
That's a very good point.
In the budget, it was.
Do we know what that is?
So maybe what we say, your point is an amendment to this proposal, which is to approve the recruitment assistant, administration assistant within the current pay scale.
Yeah, we discussed that.
Well, it's really
Yeah.
filling a vacancy.
It's filling a vacancy.
Really,
But
it's already in the
But with less
budget.
hours.
Yeah, so we're still saying.
So it's the same budget, but it's 4
Yeah,
hours.
yeah, we just carry
It's not in there at
vacancy.
all, so.
Yeah,
So maybe if we can say recruitment, just replacement.
Sorry?
Maybe if we just said replacement.
Rather than recruitment.
well, the role's going to change slightly.
We could debate words forever. I'm just conscious of other stuff that's coming up. The proposal is to approve the recruitment of an admin assistant, which will be at no greater cost than at the moment. That's the proposal. Any questions of that proposal? Do I have a second of that proposal? David, Ian, all those in favour? Perfect, thank you. Market Working Party 2578, nothing to report. Correspondence 2579, we have 2 items of correspondence. Both of them are employment law updates, one for July, one for August. I think they're just to receive. So no further questions. We move on to 2580, any other relevant matters for report only? David?
No.
James? Ian? David?
Just the observant amongst you will notice there were no minutes of the August planning meeting. Very good reason that we didn't hold it. There being one single planning application, it was felt rather more productive for the chairman to use his discretionary powers, as it were, to put in a response to the consultation rather than drag everybody out on a Tuesday night for a meeting that might have lasted 10 minutes or so. So I did consider it and we did put in a submission.
Thank you. We should note that that meeting was held, then, shouldn't we? We should note that that meeting was held.
But it wasn't held, that's the point.
Oh, sorry, we should leave that.
There was a response put in.
To the one application.
Using
One application.
Chairman's delegated powers.
We should note that. Ian?
No, the only thing is, we had the email about the footpath along the riverside being shut for the next month or so, 6 months, whichever it was. And I reported to John and Emma in a reply that we've just been told by the Greenways project team that they've dug up some Section 106 funding from the Cotswold Meadows estate to somehow provide a cycle path link from New Road along Occupation Road and along the side of the rugby club, which was part of a planning consent that was originally put forward. So they've got £115,000 that was squirreled away in a pot somewhere.
They had a cycle path.
And in the next 2 years, they're going to do something with it, but we're not sure what.
Cycle path related. Max, Ian, anything else?
No.
Thank you. Max?
No.
Rob?
Just one small thing. Could we have an update to the next meeting at some point about the Christmas market? I'm conscious that last year we had something coming very late and we couldn't approve it. because it was too late to enact that. Just conscious we don't often get an update on Christmas markets or food festival until it's very late.
What do you mean an update?
Sorry, yeah.
In terms of the progress, so the example last year was that there was the proposal or the request came to full council fairly late for a snow machine, for instance, because it didn't come until very late.
I think that's because it was a last minute thing.
Yeah.
But it would normally go through estates. Lisa normally takes anything related to Christmas markets and estates.
Yeah. It will go there.
Peter? Phil? What about our two new voices? If they have any, new people? They have any matters they want to, this is it specifically states for report only because we can only debate matters which have been advertised or announced 3 days beforehand. I have one. I asked councillors for feedback. It's the Tenants appraisal on 5th of October, 3rd of October, something in October. And I welcomed feedback from councillors to help Lita and I work with Emma. We'll certainly be asking Emma for feedback for councillors so that we can continue to work well together and improve where we need to. So far, I've had 2 responses out of 12. It would be nice to get more because it would just be helpful, I think, for all of us. Yeah, it's not how it works. That's the end of any other relevant matters for report only. Just please note that in view of the special and or confidential nature of the business about to be transacted, it is advisable in the public interest that the public be temporarily excluded and they are instructed to withdraw, understanding all of section 3C. So Emma can turn off the...
Yeah, you're proposing that.
I'm proposing that.
Have you got a second?
I'm about to find out. I have a proposer, a seconder. Kat, thank you, David. All those in favour of the proposal I've just made. Thank you. So Emma can now turn the hour off.